everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Jeremiah chapter 17 through 20 with Steve McRae.
Hi.
So I'm sure, I'm sure a good amount of people know who Steve is.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, you're way more internet famous than us.
Yeah, I would say that he's very well known for being an agnostic who and argues about the definition of atheism and agnosticism. That's what he's very well known for.
Yes.
You put up a good battle, sir.
You make a good point.
I stand unrefuted, so that's okay. I'm still on altar top. They're trying to get to me. But
Wonderful.
Well, we'd argue with you, but we'd also lose.
I'm sure someday Darth Dawkins will get through to you.
He's already seen the bright light at the end of the tunnel, and so yes, Stephen's correct. So
Yeah.
McRaeanism.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we are covering more stuff from Jeremiah.
Yes.
Exciting stuff. And what translation are you using there?
I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version of the Bible. And Steve, what translation do you have?
I have in my hands one that I don't think many people use. It is the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. Dun, dun, dun. It was actually found outside. You can tell it's dirty. It was found in the dirt. Somebody didn't think very highly of it. He started it up here in the foothills, and somebody here found it. So I'm going to be using this one.
In my headcanon, there was some Christian monk living out there.
Well, actually, if you really want to know, if you're really that curious, there is a name in here, or at least something that says princess.
Oh,
that does not help.
Maybe princess.
Maybe princess owned this, or maybe that refers to Luke 10:7. I don't know what Luke 10:7 is, but I don't know. That's the only name I see in here, princess. But maybe that refers to the scripture Luke 10:7. I'm not going to look it up.
All right.
Maybe I will now.
Well, we also have the Robert Alter translation with commentary of the Hebrew Bible. And
we also have the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews and the New King James Version of the Bible.
And for additional commentaries, we have Eerdman's commentary on the Bible.
And from the Hermenius series, a fantastic commentary series, by the way, we have William Holliday's translation and commentary on Jeremiah.
Wonderful.
Well, the Jews should know the Bible, right? I mean, the Jewish get it right because it's the Old Testament. At least get that part correct, should they not?
Well,
they base it on a different source.
Well, the thing is,
you have to say yes or it's anti-Semitic.
Oh, of course.
Hey, you know what? We're Jewish.
Yeah,
we can say no.
We have the Jewish. That's our word.
I'm not no Gentile.
Okay.
Mazel tov.
Oy vey.
It's a shudder for the goyim.
Something about Tuhus.
No, shudder for the goyim is basically when the Gentile, when the Jew looks bad in front of the Gentile.
Oh,
Gotcha.
No, I was just saying something about Tuhus.
Oh, well, let's stop fetching around and
stop.
get to Jeremiah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anything you want to say about this chapter before I start getting into it?
Yes, actually, I do. Here's some very interesting commentary from Holliday on this. So there are grave textual difficulties in the passage. And the fact that the Greek omits the whole passage has not raised confidence in what is before us. As to the omission in the Greek, Cornell suggests, probably correctly, that it was the result of haplography between Yahweh, the last word in 1621, and Yahweh in the rubric of 17.5. And of course, the part that's missing is 17.1 through 4. The omission is therefore not germane to the validity of the passage. Can't even talk right now. As for the difficulties of the text, it is true that one can get some kind of sense out of the text out of the Masoretic text, but it is clear that much has gone wrong with it. It is unnecessary to examine all the proposals offered by the commentators because my own proposal, though tentative, differs greatly from any heretofore published. It has been greatly stimulated by personal communication with Franz Hubman. So we got to look out for his own personal proposals on the development of this text.
Well, I should hope so. He wrote the book.
He did, in fact, write the book. So I'm glad he's going to add some of his own commentary. But yeah, apparently the Greek completely omits this passage.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I'm going to get into it. Chapter 17. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars. Whilst their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills. So these are the high places and the Asherah.
Oh, please
Yeah,
stop
so-
doing that. You guys, this is the thing you're not supposed to do, right?
Yep. So Baal worship and Asherah
Yeah.
worship.
On the high place.
So inwardly, the consciousness of their offense is indelible. Whatever they outwardly profess, the altars should be sacred places, but have been profaned by their acts, which would involve performing pagan rites on the altars. The altars usually had protuberances at their four corners, referred to as horns. Actually, I think we covered that before when we were discussing the building of the ark, right?
Mhm.
The horns on the end of the thing that they were using to carry it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did cover something like that. So either way, the received text has your altars, but many Hebrew manuscripts show their altars. And of course, you were noting the Asherah, which there is some commentary here on. I propose then that the two colas of verse 2 read, as their fathers remembered the hand of the son of Jehodiah, so their children have remembered their altars and their Asherahs. If that reconstruction is correct, the word son of resonates with their children. So yeah, he's just going into textual stuff.
Okay, so it is Asherah.
Yes.
Okay. O my mountain in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
Oh, forever.
Yes, forever. And
Oh my
as
gosh.
we know, there is no temporal limit on the statements that Yahweh makes, which are forever.
You can stop
So-
doing them at any time, too.
Well, he's condemned them to slavery in a foreign land, literally.
Isn't this like the thing he helped them get away from?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but now he's
Taking it
forcing,
back.
Yeah. Well, easy come, easy go.
Hey, you know what? When you don't worship properly, you gotta go back to
God.
slavery.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's pretty terrible.
Not a good message for the
No.
masses,
Although if we look at this historically speaking, then more of the whole forever stuff. If we go back to the Deuteronomistic history, remember the dynastic promise?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this could be another one of those cases where you have something that was initially written as a non-conditional statement, then later additions to it would have made it conditional. Once the time of once this horrible time has passed, basically.
Yeah. And until then, they should be slaves to some enemies in a foreign land.
Hey, you know what? That's what you get for those high places.
Oh, but yeah, you worship the wrong god.
Well, you put things where you're not supposed to. Don't do that.
Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. So yeah, you can't trust other human beings.
Well, I think they're definitely referring to trust in the same way that like
Secularism.
like trusting in all the stuff about trusting in the Lord.
Yeah.
So like you shouldn't put like man in that position.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of wasn't that like a good chunk of the point from I forget which chapter it was in Isaiah, but the one where you have like all the morning star stuff where it's about a Babylonian king
Yeah.
who was trying to
So is this a polemic against like the empires of the
Or the
region?
kings.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's that. Maybe it's against the like any false prophets. That's
Sure.
my guess.
All right.
I can check what they have to say. So yeah, cursed be the man who trusts in humans, and makes mortal flesh his strong arm. Although Adam can be translated as man, it is the generic term either for person or for humankind, and it is not limited to the male gender.
What?
Yeah. So it's just okay. They're just pointing out that it's in another human. Doesn't have to be a man. But we could have
I
got
can
that.
gather.
Yeah.
For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. So obviously not a fertile land.
Yeah.
Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. So this is like a bookend to that statement, or at least a recurrence.
So verse 7 is a variation on Psalm 45. And you know what? I am going to mispronounce this probably. Giesebrecht and Rudolph omit verse 7b. Rudolph calls it a weak repetition, but it would seem it is neither weak nor repetition. The subject is Yahweh, not his trust. The subject therefore shifts from the bad man or the good man, who is the subject, in verse 6 and 8, and emphasizes Yahweh's participation in the process of trust. Okay, so I think this is linked up to the other verse on trust that we just went over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when the heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Okay. So this is in contrast to the being like the heath in the desert and having salt lands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?
All right. Is there anything from Steve?
Oh yeah. Steve, feel free to butt in with any kind of commentary.
I'm just following along here and noted that. Oh, but first of all, this Bible is actually put out for the JEWs. It's by the Watchtower Society.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I did look it up. It's kind of funny because the copy that I have in the online version of this, not the same either.
Oh.
Nope. Wow.
Maybe it's
I know
weird.
people just confuse stuff, but I mean, it's just there are words that are just notably missing from the online version from what's actually written here. I just find that to be interesting. That's all.
Yeah, that is.
There's a version of the text for everyone. That's what I heard.
Yeah, hey, make everybody happy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there's yeah, like
It's
there's
inclusive. I like that. It's get to all people can join in and.
yeah, I mean we
Have their opinions.
there's no such thing as a perfect translation.
Nope.
So yeah, things are just gonna be different
Mhm.
once in a while. It's just gonna happen. People translate the same word a little bit differently, but it's like if If the point's the same, that's just usually what they're trying to get across.
So are you actually saying that in linguistics, there's actually no such thing as a perfectly accurate translation sometimes, and that things get lost in translation, even in the Bible, which is supposed to be 100% unerrant and okay, just making sure that
especially
okay.
in the King James version, which is perfect in every way.
You know what?
Shut
That's
up.
the only thing I've ever really used, and I find out, no, Steve, don't use that one. People are experts are like, oh no, the King James sucks. That's the one you don't want.
Yeah, King James does suck.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's the only one I even knew existed until probably age 20 something.
Yeah.
The Gideon Bible, but I thought that was the same thing. I didn't even know the difference.
Oof. All right. Let's keep going. I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. As the partridge, bird,
Yeah.
sitteth
From
on,
the song.
yeah, sitteth on eggs. I don't think I've ever seen a partridge. Have you?
I have.
Yeah, only in a pear tree.
Ah, of
Yes, I've seen an animated partridge in a Christmas show that included that song, and therefore there was a partridge. They look kind of like doves.
course. Mm.
Time like the Partridge Family.
All right. So he that getteth riches and not by right shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at the end shall be a fool. I don't think that's accurate.
So the verse is a unit by itself, but its presence here is puzzling. I hope I pronounce this right. Kimby or Quimby, not sure how to pronounce it, and Hyatt after him assumed that the verse is an illustration of verse 10a, but this connection is doubtless too general to be a satisfactory solution. Alonzo Scherkel proposes that all of verses 5 through 13 have a unity of theme, the contrast between false confidence here in riches and verses 5 through 8 in human resources, and true confidence in Yahweh. And this may be the answer. But the answer may lie in another direction. The only other occurrence in the Old Testament of the verb brood, which is apparently used there in verse 11, like the partridge that broods but does not hatch. So that's for context there. Is the only other time that pops up is in Isaiah 34:15, which is also, I think, the same chapter with I think that's the same chapter with Lilith and all the stuff in the desert.
Yeah.
So the only other occurrence of that verb is Isaiah 35:15. There, that verb follows the verb split or hatch, a striking word with the reverse order of consonants occurs here in verse 9, devious.
Mm-hmm.
It is conceivable that such an association brought the verse here, so that the association between 18:13 through 17 and 18:1 through 12. And then he references a different part in the text. But this is only a suggestion. The true explanation may be far more arbitrary.
And isn't it always?
So this bit here, I mean, it's directly contradictory even to internal parts of the Bible, right? Because in Psalms, they complain about people unjustly having great material wealth quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely. And in Proverbs especially.
And in Proverbs.
And obviously Kohelet and Song of Solomon have this whole thing against kings and against being too wealthy. You should have a medium ground, a time for wealth, stuff like that.
Yeah, and this, this is just saying that, if they get rich but not by any legitimate means, then they're going to lose it halfway through their life. But it's not true.
Not at all necessary.
Yeah.
Several commentators have suggested that the target of this saying was Jehoiakim. Sorry, and this is probable. The verse uses some Hebrew phrase that I can't read, and 22:13, part of an oracle against that king, offers something else, but both expressions indicating unjustly and the continuation of that oracle 22:17 speaks of the king's hunger for dishonest gain. Jehoiakim reigned from 609 to 598. The phrases of the third and fourth cola suggest a time early in his reign, if the oracle does refer to Jehoiakim, but no greater certainty is possible. So that's interesting.
All right. Well, that explains it. Because as a general statement, it's certainly untrue. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary. O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living waters. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved, for thou art my praise. Behold!
Behold! Oh, right, Steve, you got to shout behold.
Yeah, behold.
Yeah.
Behold.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Thank
Even more the Lord voice. Behold.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
They say unto me, where is the word of the Lord? Let it come now. So they're like making fun of him because he can't in the moment deliver God's words directly to them. Like he doesn't have a direct line instantaneously. Or are they talking about Jeremiah here?
Well, I think that he's like saying, oh, these people have been mocking me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the specific form of mockery is that he's like delivering the word of God.
He's like,
he can't like do it instantaneously.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm guessing. Yeah.
Well, God's hotline is a mess. There are so many people calling in at any given time. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. As for me, I have not hastened from being a pastor to follow thee, neither have I desired the woeful day. Thou knowest, that which came out of my lips was right before thee. Be not a terror unto me. Thou art my hope in the day of evil. Let them be confounded that persecute me. But let not me be confounded. Let them be dismayed. But let not me be dismayed. Bring upon them the day of evil and destroy them with double destruction.
Ooh.
Double destruction.
That's dope.
Hold on. I'm going to find something about double destruction.
Yeah, please do, because that's crazy, man.
So that's like what you get destroyed, you get kind of like rebuilt a little bit, then destroyed again, or just bombarded upon.
You get knocked down, and then you get up again, and then they're gonna knock you down.
They're never gonna get you down.
Yeah, all this, like, God is so loving, like, and then he brings the day of evil and double destruction. Right.
You can't get on his bad side.
I guess not.
There is
Nothing.
so the translation here is and shatter them with double shattering.
Oh.
But either way, there's sadly no commentary on that.
No commentary.
But apparently it's just okay, so there's a repetition of the word shatter, of the root word shatter. So like a shattering shatter or something like that, which that just sounds gross. So yeah, aside from that, there's nothing there. So I'm guessing it's just a best possible translation.
Yeah, the point is like complete destruction.
Yeah.
Thus saith the Lord unto me, go and stand in the gate of the children of the people, whereby the kings of Judah come in, and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say unto them, hear ye the word of the Lord, ye kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem that enter in by these gates. Thus saith the Lord, take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem, Neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day, neither do ye any work, but hallow ye the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers. I guess we're
Just talking about the Sabbath.
yeah
Out of nowhere.
I guess we're violating that law currently.
We are.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why Nahum Sarna doesn't like us.
I bet.
This is probably it right here.
Because we can work on days that he can't.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what? Maybe he's a workaholic and he's just jealous.
Maybe.
Oh, for sure. That's it.
That's it. We got it. On the gates of the sons of the people. So you would think this would be a gate to the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is reason to believe, in fact, that a temple gate rather than a city gate is referred to. Graf pointed out that in order that the order go in and go out is appropriate to a temple gate. Apparently, compare the diction of 2 Chronicles 23:8 regarding access to the temple on the Sabbath, while the reverse would be appropriate to a city gate. The expression sons of the people is used for the laity by the chronicler, and if the passage is to be dated in the 5th century, then that usage would suggest a temple gate. True, the same expression was used in Jeremiah's time for commoners as opposed to the upper classes, but to speak of a city gate for commoners through which the kings of Judah went in and out would be very odd. Better to understand the kings as laity as opposed to priests. Again, if the present passage is modeled on 7:1 through 12, then it is no doubt a temple gate, as the reference is in 7:2.
Though it does say later in 19 that all the gates of Jerusalem. So presumably Jeremiah is supposed to deliver this message over and over and over again, right? Not just once.
Or, well, yeah, to get it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't carry out a burden on the Sabbath day. Hallow the Sabbath day as I commanded your fathers. But they obeyed not, neither inclined their ear, but made their neck stiff, that they might not hear nor receive instruction. And it shall come to pass, if ye diligently hearken unto me, saith the Lord, to bring in no burden through the gates of the city on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, and to do no work therein, then shall there enter into the gates of the city kings and princes sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And this city shall remain forever.
Yeah, and I covered this verse in my Heavenly Horseman video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you want to see like a fuller commentary on that, I suppose you could see that.
Yeah, the point being that they'll be prosperous
if
they keep the Sabbath holy.
Exactly.
And they shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the places about Jerusalem, and from the land of Benjamin, and from the plain, and from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings, and sacrifices, and meat offerings, and incense, and bringing sacrifices of praise unto the house of the Lord. But if ye will not hearken unto me, to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched.
Wow.
That's pretty extreme.
Yes, although I would say that this kind of fits in with, I guess, a tradition in biblical history, I would say. Because remember, early in the chapter, we were talking about it lasting forever.
Yes.
And now it has turned conditional based on the Sabbath.
Now it's turned conditional, but obviously they don't meet that condition ultimately.
Otherwise, yeah.
And also, I mean, if this fire is not going to be quenched, is this like some kind of magic fire that just keeps going forever? Or
It's divine fire.
divine fire? Okay.
Or it's just, yeah, you know what? Let's just call it divine fire because
Because
or maybe
there's
the
like
fire's
the
just-
eternal flame in the temple, right?
sure. And, I kind of got some,
And they did have fire with was it Korah or Dathan? One of them.
oh, I know. I remember which one you're talking about. That's a really weird story because it all seems kind of jumbled. But I got a lot of hints of Gehenna when reading this.
Yeah.
Now maybe that's just I don't know. Maybe it's just the one word fire that got to me, but I got like that feeling that you get when you're reading about Gehenna early on.
Well, it could be by using
Similar imagery.
fire devouring the palaces of Jerusalem.
Devouring.
Like it could be like that foreign kings from different nations are going to come in who worship different gods, the kinds which accept these people putting their children through the fire, as in Gehenna. And so the palaces of Jerusalem are figuratively going to be sacrificed, right?
Yeah, it would be figurative, but yeah.
I mean, not literally sacrificed.
Well, yeah, that's exactly.
Doesn't Jesus talk about in Mark something along the lines of having an unquenchable fire and setting things ablaze? And also there's a parallel to hell being an unquenchable fire. So could it be something along the lines of hell on earth?
I mean, maybe that's part of the imagery there, but this is only in reference to Jerusalem. Yeah.
Right, because at this time there wouldn't have been.
Sorry, what'd you say, Steve?
Here I have. It says shall not be will not be extinguished, which is unquenchable fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at this time they didn't believe in fire and brimstone hell, right?
Not at this
They
time.
would believe in Sheol, if anything, right?
But not the fiery type of burning type of
No.
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
No,
but,
that would come much later.
But I think there's been other fire, and like there was that one angel with a flaming sword at one point. I think
There was the angel over Jerusalem.
yeah, the angel over Jerusalem who has this flaming sword.
Yeah.
And I mean it's in the same place.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know if that's significant.
Interesting connection there.
Yeah. But that is the end of chapter 17. If you're enjoying the show so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share us with all of your relevant communities,
Your friends, your family,
your Discord servers.
the people you hate. Also, they might want to watch us.
You got 3 of those already.
Fantastic!
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm here. You're going to have a few.
Yeah.
It's still interaction.
Yeah.
Life can be polarizing. What are you gonna do about it?
Be more polarized.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty hardcore. Well, let's
Let's switch this off. I will.
switch this off.
Yeah, I'll get us started with the next chapter.
There's nothing in Eerdmans on this chapter.
Oh, okay.
So you can keep it.
Sounds good.
So it's not apparent why this passage has its present presentation here, since 17:19 through 27 is likely to be dated late. One must assume that when the present passage was placed here, it came directly after 17:14 through 18. If so,
With the double destruction stuff. Yeah.
If so, there are at least 2 possibilities. One, given the cogency of the explanation of verses 13 through 17 after the present passage on the basis of the sequence of Potter and Lebanon in Isaiah 29:16 and 17 respectively, and verses 13 through 17 here. It is possible that the occurrence of lips in both Isaiah 29:13 and Jeremiah 17:16 triggered the insertion of both in the present passage and verses 13 through 17 at the same time. This is the only occurrence of lips in Jeremiah. There are other occurrences of lips in passages of Isaiah likely to be available to a redactor of Jeremiah. 2. The present passage closely resembles 13:1 through 11, both in form and their use of the verb be spoiled, nipal. It's just like shachat. In Isaiah 13.
And chapter 13 was the thing about the loincloth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
that was that one.
So, 13 through 11, what was spoiled was pride, and that link with 12:5 explains the position of 13:1 through 11. What is spoiled in the present passage is a vessel, and given the association of their vessels, they are ashamed and is dismayed. In 14:3, the occurrence of forms in the last two cited words in 17:18 and vessel in the present passage may have brought the passage here. It is to be noted that verse 4 and verse 9, in which vessel appears, are the only two occurrences in Jeremiah until 1911. If, on the other hand, 17:19 through 27 was in place before 18:1 through 12 was added, the association may be the phrase do work. So there's some placement issues with this section.
As is
here.
tradition.
Yep. And it might not follow from what we've just been reading.
That would make sense because the whole Sabbath thing did really seem out of place, and I think it would make sense with, at least as much as we know about redactional history.
Yeah, they just
too.
threw in a passage about keeping the Sabbath holy.
Yeah. Either way, chapter 18.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky. The word that came, I already messed it up. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, arise and go down to the potter's house.
So, as many commentators have observed, the verb used suggests that the potter's house was located in a lower part of the city, perhaps in a valley near a water source.
Well, considering Jeremiah is a prophet, and prophets usually held very high positions, most places would be, lower, at least class speaking.
Yeah, so the word potter is simply the participle of shaper. Since the verb is used often of Yahweh's creative ability, Genesis 2:7-8, and often in Psalms, for example, Psalm 94:9, the analogy easily suggested itself. Indeed, the same analogy was offered by Isaiah in Isaiah 29:16. Earlier commentators make a great deal of the question whether the sequence of the command here must be taken literally, or whether Jeremiah, in a visit to the potter's workshop, gained a lesson of divine activity and thus became convinced that Yahweh had sent him there. That such a humanistic explanation is possible, no one doubts, but the sense of divine compulsion under which the prophets worked might have produced the event much as this verse said it did.
Also, just trying to get a literary point across.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people writing. All right, so arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, working at his wheel. And the vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hand, and he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to do. Now, does this kind of seem like a flood thing, maybe? Because you have this thing that has just been spoiled that he's created, and then so it's bad now. He's got to start again. He's going to create something new from it. So that I think that would match up with the flood, right?
Well, I'm looking at commentary here. In verse 3, compares Sirach 38:29. So too,
that's all the way over there on the other side of the room.
I know. Quote, so too is the potter sitting at his work and turning the wheel with his feet. So this is, you know how to make pottery. I'm sure you've seen
I've done it
potter's
once.
wheel.
Cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's the
I've done it
verb.
once with them. Have you seen Ghost?
Oh, nice,
Oh, man,
nice.
just like that movie Ghost.
Okay, the potter is not thwarted by any perversity of the clay. The potter is able to change his intention in order to accomplish his ultimate goal, the making of an acceptable vessel. So, like,
I don't know. I'm getting flood stuff from this.
maybe
I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Let's continue.
they literally explain how a potter's wheel works in
Great.
this commentary.
Whoop-de-doo.
That's pretty funny.
So either way, then the word of the Lord came to me. Oh, house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter has done? Declares the Lord.
So Alter translates.
It's interesting
this-
that now that this is God addressing Israel now.
Yes. And this is in verse 6. So this is the only instance of the interrogative ha with the preposition k in Jeremiah. The phraseology is reminiscent of Amos 9:7. Are you not like the Ethiopians to me? For like this potter, okay, both halves of the verse express the analogy that the potter is to the clay as Yahweh is to Israel.
Makes sense.
Alter says, like the potter, cannot I do with you, house of Israel? This entire sentence, like the clay of the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, is...
So is he saying then that he is going to make them better? Because you would assume because the potter just made something better.
Maybe. It says the entire sentence was imported for an impressive liturgical poem in the Yom Kippur service.
Okay.
The symbolic use of the potter harks back to the version of creation of humankind in Genesis 2, where God fashioned, the potter's verb yatsar is used, the human creature from the soil.
Sure, that fits.
So, yeah.
Behold!
Behold. Steve. Hi, Steve.
Waiting for Steve.
Oh, behold.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there
Thanks,
you go.
man.
Behold.
Like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. So yeah, I think he's saying that he's going to make them better.
Mhm.
If at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it, and if that nation, concerning which I have spoken, turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I intended to do to it. Let's consider Israel here, okay? Let's consider
Modern Israel?
No.
Oh, no, ancient Israel.
Yeah, let's consider how this theology is different from the theology portrayed in 2 Kings.
Yeah, okay.
So in 2 Kings, they, plenty of generations have done bad.
Yes.
But then you get to Josiah.
Mm-hmm.
And Josiah flips the script, turns everything around.
He reforms the whole thing.
Yes. And makes everything better, even takes down the high places.
Yep.
And God was still like, you know what? Your ancestors have done a lot of bad, so you're going to have to destroy you anyways. Gonna have to let this exile happen anyways. And this is markedly different from this theology, unless, of course, by the nations, the author just means just non-Israel.
Which happens.
Nations that aren't Israel, yeah. Because it was often used to mean just, enemy nations. So
I got a bigger issue with this. Maybe you guys can help me through it.
go ahead.
All right.
All right. So there's a couple of different versions of God, and one of the versions is God is impassible. It doesn't have any emotions, doesn't really have any intentional states even. If he has something that he has planned, that's an intentional state. He has said, this is what I had planned, but I'm not going to do that. That there's an intentionality to be had there. So is God somehow can be swayed, saying, "Hey, this is my plan. This is but if you don't do this, or if you do this, or whatever the case may be, or if you do or don't, I'm not going to do what I had planned. Because what I had planned doesn't matter. It just what Wait a minute. Does he have? Don't you think the plan would be that they repent? If they repent and of their evil, then that would be his God's plan, right? I mean, so which is God's plan? That he was going to destroy them because they weren't going to repent of their evil? No, he's telling them to do so.
It's all puppets,
It's a little
Steve.
confusing on that.
Well, the thing is, this verse definitely suggests that there's no kind of control over free will here.
Mhm.
Like free will is still its own thing.
You're screwed. You're screwed. I mean, you're just at the whim of God. But I mean, it's just, I think it's weird that I think the man can kind of change the course of action that God wants.
Well, you got to remember that, first of all, Abraham's story, right?
Mhm.
When Abraham,
Right. Abraham argues over the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah.
yes,
And also,
I think Moses did it too, right? He argued with God.
I think Moses argues with God once.
Yeah,
Yep.
once. I think so.
And I think there was another prophet who argued. Oh yeah, Job argues with God, but
Well, yeah.
Job just like gets convinced by God.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not really successful.
yeah. It's not really in the same way as Abraham
But
and
like,
Moses.
there's I think a lot of different gods in the Old
no. Hold on.
Testament.
I think even Jeremiah was arguing with God, wasn't he?
earlier
On.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah.
Well, he was like not interested in doing the thing because he's supposed to deliver this message of doom.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, it's not comfortable for him, I'm sure. But like, no, I think there's a lot of different gods in the Old Testament. Like, different books have
Certainly a lot of different
completely-
theologies. Yeah.
Yeah, they have completely different properties of God. Like, there are determinists in the Bible,
Yeah.
and then there are like libertarian free will people, and there's people who
It does get confusing, and I think that the only way to make sense of it is through historical methods.
right.
Put it all
So you
into
don't
a
think
into a
they're all describing the same being.
yeah. They're or if they are describing the same being, the concept of the being had changed depending on the historical situation.
Considerably. I mean, even from
Yeah.
the Old to the New Testament, it went from this kind of like vindictive, vengeful, destructive deity to I love everyone, share my love, peace, love, and harmony kind of thing in the New Testament. It doesn't seem like the same type of deity. to me.
I think you'd really like Marcion. Do you know who Marcion is, Steve?
I do not.
So I think that in the 2nd century, there was this dude named Marcion, and Marcion looked at the Old Testament and he looked at the New Testament, and he was like, there's no way this is describing the same God. Like, these have to be two different gods. So Marcion reasoned that there were two gods. There was the lesser, or perhaps even evil God of the Jews, and there was the greater Christian God of Jesus. So he actually is credited with the establishment of canon, of the idea of having a closed book of scripture. So he had something similar to the Gospel of Luke. He had a lot of Paul's epistles, including one or two that we no longer have. So yeah, Marcionite churches were all around the place up until like the 10th century. So it was yeah.
I would probably disagree with him. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's the
Yeah.
same being that they're describing. Because I mean, generally, if you describe something like if I was describing Lawrence, I would have certain things that I say about him. Other people have certain things they would say about him. There would be some kind of consistency, right?
Yeah.
Somebody described you having some short hair, 800-pound. Freckly ginger or something like that. I'd be like, I don't think we're talking about the same person here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have heard people describe you. I've just let you know, but
Wow.
okay.
So the
It makes sense,
Marcionite
right?
thing.
There's an objective fact to be had. If God exists, there's something about God that has certain properties, right? It is kind of odd that so many people have described him in so many different ways that there just seems to be no consistency in the description.
Right. It's almost as if this is just them projecting.
Or yeah, exactly. There's definitely that. But yeah, it's almost as if the religion evolved depending on the historical situations.
Well, and
that
it's still
they were.
evolving, right? Because
Definitely. Absolutely.
Reform Judaism is nothing like Orthodox Judaism.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even close.
Yeah, they're modern and they're up to date and they're like, we have some things we culturally go by, but we're gonna be like super stringent on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, because of the
they edit their prayer books too and their translations. Like, when I was a kid, they hadn't been doing this. Like they kept the pronouns as like he when referring to Yahweh and stuff. But now they've gotten new prayer books since, and they changed the translation. I'm not sure if they changed the Hebrew, but they changed the English to make it all like gender neutral and
Interesting.
it's very strange. Like, and they add in like in normal passages where they would talk about like male prophets, like the patriarchs. They like add in parts about the matriarchs.
Huh. That's interesting.
So when you have something like Reformed Judaism and they get rid of all the orthodoxy stuff, or at least for the most part, get rid of the customs and the orthodoxy. I mean, what do you have left at that point?
You have Passover.
You have a God concept.
But it's just, I mean, you basically have just, hey, we're culturally this, we like masa bra and gefilte fish. But other than that, it's like, it's not even at that point true Judaism. I mean, if you get rid of all the customs, then where's the religion at that point? I mean, I'm not saying
right, and here's the thing.
Compatible for some reasons.
So because the ancient world and so the construction, I guess, and the writing of the Old Testament. Actually, you know what? Throw in the New Testament there too.
Thank you, James P. Ironman MTG, for your donation.
Good name. Good name.
We have a $666 donation drive, which we're currently at.
I don't know. I'd have to do the math again.
Okay, well, while you're doing the
around
math,
$200.
Around $200. And once we hit 666, we're going to get a thetan meter. We're going to see who the most clear between the team is, and we're going to take it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see how the thetan meter works, and we're going to talk all about Scientology.
Yeah.
Where are you getting a meter from?
We could probably find one on Amazon.
There are designs online where
you can make one, I guess.
We might get a main brand product and then just disassemble it and go, what's the official Scientology one?
Yeah. They pop up on like eBay once in a while.
I'm guessing.
Here's the thing, though. If you don't know how to use the e-meter correctly, then of course it's not going to work for you because you're not been trained by someone to do this properly. So that's why.
Well, this is something.
Or I could use conductive electrical, basic science and figure out how the thing works as a machine.
Like when I was,
you don't have the training to use that machine.
Oh no, I'm totally boned then, aren't I?
When I was a kid, I went to Sunday school.
Wow.
And they one time brought in Scientologists to like inform you about other faiths. Right. They brought in Scientologists, and the Scientologists did bring a thetan meter and have us test our thetans.
That's interesting.
Honest to God, I would have lost my shit.
It was hilarious.
I would have been upset by that. I would have been like, oh hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. We're not happening. Now, how long ago was this? Because you were in high school like what, last year?
No, that was like that had to be like at least 15 years ago.
That was a grade school type thing.
Yeah.
And what region of the country was that in?
Milwaukee.
Yeah, we're Milwaukee atheists.
I don't know if he was born and raised in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah.
Most of us have at very least have been here 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So just to hop back to Jeremiah and like all the different God concepts that we can get from the Bible. So because of how dynamic the ancient world was, or, at least that part of the Levant and stuff, because of how much it changed over the course of 1,000 years, of course you're going to get differing theologies between these. They have to explain things in different ways that's still, rooted in their original theology. So I would say that, if you want to argue for something biblically, there aren't many positions you can't support biblically because it was so dynamic. And I mean, I'm just adding some explanatory power here. But it's there's a reason why you have so many different God concepts between books, between periods. Like a lot of stuff changes.
Well, why don't you keep going? We've got like more chapters to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's talking about molding Israel, I guess. And he was just he was just saying, if at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it, and if that nation concerning which I have spoken turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I intended to do to it. If at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will build and plant it, and if it does evil in my sight, not listening to my voice, then I will relent of the good that I have intended to do to it. Now, therefore, say to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, thus says the Lord, behold!
Behold.
Behold.
I am shaping disaster against you and devising a plan against you. Return everyone from his evil way and amend your ways and your deeds.
So this is odd because it says I'm devising a plan against you, which implies that God
Has to think about his plan.
Has to think about his plan.
Yeah.
Like, it takes him a while to think it through.
Dude, he forgets about his people every other year, I swear.
It happens, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I got those Israelites, my chosen people. Damn, how did I keep forgetting?
Do you think this is a little more anthropomorphic, that God is making decision making similar to what a man would do?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was always, I wouldn't say always, but it's definitely very anthropomorphic early on, because, I mean, consider Genesis 1 or 2, like, and let us make man in our image.
Right.
Like, of course.
And God walked upon the waters and
Looked with and walked with and held hands.
I think
and,
it's,
and he had a
Yeah.
picnic. And
yeah, I remember Genesis with the picnic.
yeah, come on, that whole picnic scene, you can't forget it. It didn't exist. I'm bluffing.
All right. Keep going.
But they say that is in vain.
This Alter translates as "it is hopeless."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well,
it
of
could
course.
also be translated as "we couldn't care less." And Holliday has this as "we don't care" with an exclamation point.
Oh, this is good stuff. This is just like just like Colette and Ecclesiastes.
Oh, man.
Steve, have you read Ecclesiastes?
Oh man.
oh, I've read a lot of the Bibles. I read the entire New Testament. The Old Testament I kind of like,
Yeah.
piecemeal. But
You
who
should
knows
read
what I've read.
Kohelet.
But yeah,
Kohelet's dope. I mean, Ecclesiastics is pretty good.
Really good stuff.
I mean, it starts with vanity of vanities or all is meaningless.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Everything is meaningless, says the teacher.
Yep.
Completely meaningless. Love it. But they say that is in vain. We will follow our own plans, and will everyone act according to the stubbornness of his evil heart. I doubt they would say that. Therefore, thus says the Lord, ask among the nations, who has heard the like of this? The virgin Israel has done a very horrible thing. Does the snow of Lebanon leave the crags of
So the
Syrian?
Masoretic text of verse
Syrian.
14 is impossible. And any reconstruction must proceed with care.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind. Let's see how little of this makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, does the snow of Lebanon leave the crags of Syrian? Do the mountain waters run dry, the cold flowing streams?
This is
So the
probably like those
KJV.
you remember those hypothetical questions that they've asked before, or rhetorical questions that they've asked before, and we don't know if they meant to be sincere or not in those rhetorical remarks at all. Again, this is one of those, isn't it?
Well, the KJV
Maybe, I don't know.
says, will a man leave the snow of Lebanon, which cometh from the rock of the field? Or shall the cold flowing waters that come from another place be forsaken? Alter says, does the snow of Lebanon leave the rock of the highland field? Do foreign waters dry up the cold flowing streams? So Alter comments on this. As we are frequently reminded in biblical poetry, there are mountains in the region of southern Lebanon bordering on the land of Israel. On the heights, snow would be the equivalent of permafrost. The point of the rhetorical question, then, is that the highland snow never leaves the rocks on which it is accumulated. Yet Israel has forsaken its God, also called the rock, to which it should have clung. And do foreign waters dry up the cold flowing streams? The line has engendered conflicting interpretations. The verb that appears in the received text, yinatshu, be smashed, is scarcely appropriate for water, and the translation accepts a widely used emendation, yinashtu, which involves merely a reversal of two consonants. The poet is evidently still thinking of Lebanon. The cold mountain streams never dry up, just as the snow on the slopes never melts from the rocks. One detects a polemic thrust in the idea that these foreign waters continue to flow faithfully, whereas Israel has betrayed its God.
Ah, okay.
So let me ask you, if these are poetry and more on the sense of allegorical or polemics, should people that are religious take this as God is actually saying these things, that these are from God themselves?
Well,
Or is it a poet and writing it in his view, in his mind, about God?
Well,
because there's a huge distinction to be made there.
for this specifically,
it's destroyed beyond
no,
recognition.
it begins in verse 13. Therefore, thus says the Lord.
yes.
So I'm sure that they would think.
A poet can be saying that too. A poet can write that down and saying,
Right.
"Okay, thus saith the Lord," but he's not authorized to speak on God's behalf.
But
He's
Steve,
speaking
Well,
on
he kind of is.
Steve,
Well, I mean, at that point, is he speaking for God and saying God is saying this? This is-
He would be
that's from God.
delivering God's message.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a prophet.
right.
Okay.
Well, that's a drop of skepticism. They don't have that in
No,
religion.
not
I'm
at all.
sorry.
And well,
Question.
It's a good one. No problem.
well, yeah. And here's the thing about you know taking things literally and whatnot. Yeah, it all matters on context and genre as well. A lot of people don't take into account the genre of the work that they are looking at. So like Genesis, I don't think it was ever meant to be taken literally.
I don't even.
Yeah, it's I like the thing is there are texts in the Bible which I think were more or less meant to be taken literally, like the Deuteronomistic history. It is a history.
And the rules in Leviticus.
Yeah, because that's a legal
Parts
code.
of Exodus.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it didn't happen, but yeah. So I agree with that. I think a lot of those things were historical accountings of the best that they could, but Genesis doesn't mesh with those very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so it's yeah, people need to take into account genre as well, and they do not. So let's continue here. But my people have forgotten me. They make offerings to false gods. They make them stumble in their ways, in the ancient roads, and to walk into side roads, not the highway. And of course, I'm guessing this would be more of a. See, the thing is, I could interpret this as the whole side roads and the highway thing. You could see the highway as the right way, and the side roads as going off of the right way. But also, historically speaking,
Well, Alter translates it as to walk on paths of an unpaved way.
okay, so it would be pretty much the same thing then. Because the highway would be the one that's paved.
I'm going to leave the cameras for a sec. Got to go to the bathroom. Do
Oh, okay.
Have fun.
Yeah, don't die.
you need a brisk?
No, I'm good.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could see multiple ways of interpretation, but the biggest point here is they have strayed. Yeah, they worship other gods. It's all said in the first half of it. Yeah, and to walk into side roads, not the highway, making their land a horror, a thing to be hissed at forever.
This is the hissing of a snake.
Would make sense, yeah.
The action is referred to elsewhere, Lamentations 2:15 through 16. And the phraseology here is imitated in Deuteronomistic passages, 1 Kings 9:8.
All right. Everyone who passes by it is horrified and shakes his head. Like the east wind, I will scatter them before the enemy.
So
I will show them my back, not my face, in the day of their calamity.
So as we know, there's a desert to the east, and an east wind brings with it a lot of problems, right?
Yeah.
You get sandstorms, you get horrible, nightmarish events. It's pretty bad.
The dogs come in.
Dogs come in.
Does a god ever say that these other false gods that they're worshiping do not exist? Does he ever explicitly ever say that anywhere in the Bible?
A ton.
No.
I swear he does a ton.
No, he says that they're powerless.
Yeah, that
yes.
they're powerless, that they're
Well,
they're
that's different, though. That's giving them an attribute
exactly
that they exist, but
that they're
others-
pretty much work of idle hands. That they're
He talks
he says
to
that
them.
they're
You could have a non-existent thing. I guess you could argue they're non-existent, therefore powerless. But but
Yeah, no,
Is that how he's
he
arguing
talks
it?
to them directly in Psalms.
actually hold on. That was in Psalm 82, I think. But so when didn't we recently go over a verse, I think, that said outright that they weren't real? I think it was recently.
Yeah, and it might have been in our last readings, not Jeremiah. What was before Jeremiah?
I think it was Isaiah.
Yeah, I remember something in Isaiah for sure that there was they've had many a competition between, show us what your idols can do, and they can't do anything, and that means that they're not real. I don't know that is verbatim what they said, but it seemed like
they
implications.
kept talking about how they can't divine the future,
Yeah.
and how they can't get up and walk around, and
so they're limited, but they exist.
I think that would imply that they exist. I mean, especially given that.
Psalm 82 would have been the big one.
Yeah.
Because God is talking to a pantheon in Psalm 82.
Yeah, and that's the biggest one. But I think there's other points where he talks to or about other gods specifically.
Yeah, he talks about other gods all the time. So
he talks about Baal a whole lot.
Yeah, definitely. Big competitor there. And when it comes,
It's an all-powerful, omnipotent being. They've got a competitor.
yeah, I mean, in terms of followers, yeah, and the thing is, so Yahweh would have been initially a war and storm god, and then he started taking on attributes of other gods, because
there's definitely this transitional period that we read a lot about where there are some polytheist aspects still being addressed.
right, it would be it's called henotheism.
There you
Yes.
Yeah, where you have one God that is worthy of worship. The other ones exist, but the only one that's worthy of worship is that one high one. That's henotheism.
Yes. Why don't you keep going?
Yes, I shall. Then they said, "Come, let us make plots against Jeremiah. For the law shall not perish from the priest, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophet. Come, let us strike him with the tongue, and let us not pay attention to any of his words."
So
So they're going to make fun of him, I guess.
Blow them off.
yeah, the plot suggests slander.
Yeah, didn't we? Yeah, that was the whole plot earlier in the book, right? A plot against him. That's what he was complaining to God about.
People kept on talking shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Hear me, O Lord, and listen to the voice of my adversaries. Should good be repaid with evil?
So instead of adversaries, the Septuagint reads quarrel. My quarrel.
That would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Should good be repaid with evil? Yet they have dug a pit for my life. Remember how I stood before you to speak good for them, to turn away your wrath from them. Therefore, deliver up their children to famine. Give them over to the power of the sword.
So
Let their wives become childless and widowed. May their men meet death by pestilence. Their youths be struck down by the sword in battle. So Jeremiah is upset. He's salty.
So what? The particular type of death reserved for each portion of the population is not to be taken literally. It is a way of saying everyone will die from a variety of causes.
Well, it's certainly a lot of interesting imagery there.
I'm trying to find something that could justify. And I mean, there's just
you have
textual commentary in here.
famine, sword, pestilence. Some four horsemen-y type stuff.
Yeah, purposely making orphans and widows.
Classic.
Yeah, which is not what you're supposed to do. I don't know.
Well, how about we continue? Let's see what else Jeremiah has to say, because he's salty. May cry be heard from their houses when you bring the plunderer suddenly upon them. For they have dug a pit to take me and laid snares for my feet. Yet you, O Lord, know all their plotting to kill me. Forgive not their iniquity, nor blot out their sin from your sight. Let them be overthrown before you. Deal with them in the time of your anger. When what he really means is deal with them now because I'm mad. That's what Jeremiah really means.
Yeah, hurry up. I'm pissed.
Pretty much.
That's terrible.
And unless you have some commentary to add to that.
They don't provide any commentary on that. They don't want to talk about it. So how does this compare to Deuteronomy
28.
28?
Well, remember, Deuteronomy 28. Steve, I don't know if you've when the last time you read Deuteronomy 28 was, but Deuteronomy 28 is.
Well, let me tell you, about 12 seconds ago in a second. Deuteronomy 28. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 28. Lots of interesting stuff in there. So the spark notes for this is God. If you don't follow God's law, He will make you eat your children, and He is going to like making you eat your children. That's the biggest takeaway. But the curses,
like Jehovah will strike you with the boil of Egypt and piles of eczema and skin eruption.
yeah, lots.
This is like Deuteronomy
From
28.
which you're not be able to be healed. That's that. Yeah.
Yeah, it says it starts at verse 15. So he's going to curse you.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be cursed in the town and the field, your basket and your kneading pan, the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your soil. So you'll be cursed when you come in and when you go out. They referenced the gates earlier. It says they'll perish. They'll have plagues. They'll be wiped from the face of the soil. They'll have consumption with fever and inflammation and burning. And
So he's just asking God to do what He said He could do to those faithless guys.
Yeah, but this is more than just because the thing is, the part in Deuteronomy is more about
this part. The Lord will strike you with the burning rash of Egypt and with hemorrhoids and with boils and scabs.
Yeah, God's a real dick sometimes.
Yeah.
I like this one here. This is also in Deuteronomy that you've had me go look at. You will become engaged to a woman, but another man will rape her.
Whoa! The phrasing there, that's different.
This is right here.
I know.
I read that verbatim.
Whew.
yeah.
From this version. Yeah.
Deuteronomy 28 is
that's
nuts.
why they left it in the woods.
that's why it was dropped. It's got dirt and it's falling apart.
It's like, this is horrible.
Yeah, and Deuteronomy 28 also includes being sold to your enemies as slaves.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Deuteronomy 28 that pops
Does it
up.
seem like an entire carrot and stick approach. It's like if you do these things, hey, you'll be blessed and you have all these prosperities and your children upon children and you'll be fortunate and everything will be great. But if you don't, these are all the maladies that I'm going to inflict upon you because, I'm a benevolent deity.
Yes, and the part in Deuteronomy would have only been applicable to the Jews.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, damn those Jews, even though I'm Jewish, you're Jewish, I thought we were supposed to be chosen people. How are we like the ones that are getting like all these boils and stuff?
Well, exactly. They're the ones that are expected to follow it to a T.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so if they don't, they're twice as screwed. Okay.
Yeah, you get punished twice as much when you screw up because you're chosen. It's not a.
I heard as a Jew, we're good to go anyways. That's what I.
Oh, jeez. I don't know.
Yeah, Jews are automatically like saved or something. I'm gonna go with that.
Cherry picking. All right.
Yeah, form of universalism, I guess. I don't know, but I've heard that before. The Jews don't have to, do anything special. They're automatically by lineage saved because they're God's chosen people.
Oh,
okay.
See, weird. I didn't even hear that one.
But do you hear some?
I do hear
Something.
something weird. It's kind of a crazy sound.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Wow. Thank
Jesus.
you, Jesus.
Wow, Jesus, thank you. We really appreciate you stopping by once in a while and really, really helping us out.
Yep. Jesus is so great. Have you heard the good news?
Milwaukee
Atheists is live streaming on YouTube.
By the way, Jesus knew me too, because Jesus, he complimented me on a debate that I did too. So Jesus, thank you, dude.
Yeah, he's a cool
Nice.
guy.
I know Jesus just like you know Jesus. Yeah.
Great. We all know Jesus here.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Jesus.
Nice guy.
Gotta have a friend in.
Jesus.
It's fill in the blank. Come
Fiverr
on, guys.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we can hop into the next chapter, chapter 19, and we're going to have to pass that one off to our special guest, Steve.
Woo! Like I said, this new world translation of the Holy Scriptures, if people are reading along with us on like the new the NIV or the King James, this is going to sound odd because I've already looked at some of this stuff and it's not the same. It's completely different. So, all right, here we go.
Yeah. So,
by the way, stop me when you want to have commentary. I just read.
So before we do get started, there is a little bit of commentary on the authenticity and unity of the sections. So Holliday actually has these sectioned off as 19:1 through 26 as a section on its own. So two questions need discussion: whether chapter 19 and 21 through 6 are connected, and the nature of chapter 19 itself. I shall deal with them in reverse order. So chapter 19 has stimulated critics to propose a variety of hypotheses because the command to buy a flask in verse 1 is separated from the command to break the flask in verse 10 by a long speech. And because verses 5 through 7 appear to be a doublet of 7:31 through 33. Yeah, okay, so that's another reason why. So Abraham Cunin suggested that this chapter has the same relation to 7:30 through 34 as chapter 26 does to 7:1 through 15. That is, it is a narrative account parallel to the simple text of the speech. Doom concluded that the whole chapter is secondary. With regard to verses 1 through 13, a consensus is to be found among almost all commentators, beginning with Cornell and Giesebrecht, that within these verses, only verses 1 through 2a and 10 through 11a are original. Thus, by this view, verses 2b through 9 and 11b through 13 are secondary. It should be noted that Cornell includes part of verse 12a as well in what is original, and that Giesebrecht includes verse 12a as well in what is original. This consensus is satisfying to the theory of a Deuteronomistic redaction, since the material proposed as secondary appears to conform to that style. It is also satisfying to the form critic, who sees verse 10 in this way, brought next to verses 1 through 2a, so that the presumed original passage offers commands for a symbolic act which match the form of 13, 1 through 11. So that is interesting.
Yes. Well, take it away, Steve.
Yes, absolutely.
This is what Jehovah said. Go, and you must get an earthenware flask of a potter, and some of the older men of the people, and some of the older men of the priest. And you must go out into the valley of the son of Hinnom.
That's the Valley of Ben Hinnom.
Yes,
Hinnom. Okay.
That's also you might want to take note of this, Steve, because I know yesterday on your stream you said you were doing a hell thing coming up soon.
Yes, on the 11th, yes.
Yeah, so
Tomorrow, yeah.
the Valley of Ben Hinnom is also known as Gehenna, and that's
Okay, so that's another name for Canada. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Super
Nice.
easy to know where that is once, or remember about it once you heard that word. Yeah.
Which is at the entrance of the gate of the potsherds. What's a potsherd?
well, a potsherd is a little piece of it's a piece of pottery.
Okay.
But so the location of the potsherd gate mentioned only here is unknown. The normal identification with the dung gate, and if you guys remember all the dung stuff in Nehemiah, that was a strange passage. So yeah,
Also,
the normal.
historically in our biblical readings, things about gates and members of people who watch the gates are just totally wrong all over the place. Remember the gates?
They're very
oh my gosh,
different identifications.
it's hard to identify anything about gates for some reason. They
Yeah.
just get destroyed all the time. I'm
Yeah,
just,
so
I'm just guessing.
The normal identification with the dung gate made by the Talmud may be correct. Both dung and potsherds may signify a gate through which trash was thrown into the valley. But since the location of the dung gate is likewise uncertain, the identification is both uncertain and unhelpful. Yeah.
All right, carry on.
And there you must proclaim the words that I speak to you. And you must say, hear the word of Jehovah, O you kings of Judah and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. This is what Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel, has said. Quote, here I am bringing a calamity upon this place, of which when anyone hears, his ears will tingle. For the reason that they have left me and proceeded to make this place unrecognizable and to make sacrificial smoke in it to other gods whom they had not known, they and their forefathers and their kings of Judah, and they have filled this place with the blood of the innocent ones. And they have built the high...
As a rule, the phrase, they have filled the place with the blood of the innocent, refers to murder and perhaps occasionally to murderous exploitation. But given the location in the Valley of Ben Hinnom, the innocent may well be children sacrificed in this place.
Yeah, it is probable that the kings... Okay, so the present passage in 2 Kings 24:4 uses fill. In Kings filled Jerusalem. Here, filled this place. And since 2 Kings 24:4 is attributed to the exilic Deuteronomistic editor, it is probable that the King's passage is dependent on the present one. So that's cool.
Yeah, and so the implication here is that they made this area foreign, alien, right?
Yeah.
By worshiping these other gods.
Yeah, that
and
really
performing
tingles one's
sacrifices.
ears.
And the thing about innocent blood, if you think about, the Valley of Ben Hinnom, again, that's where children were made to pass through the fire, multiple children.
Right, they burns.
Yeah.
And they built the high places of the Baal in order to burn their sons in the fire as whole burnt offerings to the Baal, something that I had not commanded or spoken of, and that they had not come up unto my heart.
So this linkage between Baal and human sacrifice is exceptional. Elsewhere, and especially in reference to the Valley of Ben Hinnom, it is to Moloch that children are sacrificed.
Yeah.
That's the guy you always ask me to sacrifice kids
Moloch.
to.
Yeah, Moloch was supposed to be like some kind of like evil god, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's someone
Super.
that children get sacrificed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty.
So it's interesting
Terrific.
that the same thing here is being used to describe Baal.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, carry on. There's also a comment at the end of the next verse.
Therefore, look, there are days coming. It is the utterance of Jehovah when this place will be called no more Topeth, and the valley of the son of Hinnom,
Yeah.
and the valley of the killing.
So, Alter's translation is, therefore, look, days are coming, and the Lord, therefore, look, days are coming, and the Lord, when this place shall not be called Topheth and the valley of Ben Hinnom, but the valley of the killing. And he says, as what follows makes clear, the killing is not the sacrificed children, but a general slaughter that will be perpetrated here in retribution for the unspeakable crime. So we're about to get into some murder.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Murder's always fun. All right. And I will make void the counsel of Judah and of Jerusalem in this place, and I will cause them to fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hand of those seeking for their soul. And I will give their dead bodies as food to the flying creatures of the heavens and to the beasts of the earth. And I will make this city an object of astonishment and something to be whistled at.
So the bodies being food for the fowl of heavens and the beasts of the earth is also something from Deuteronomy 28.
Every last one passing along it will stare in astonishment and whistle all over its plagues. And I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they will eat each one of their flesh of their fellow man, because of the tightness and because of the stress with which their enemies and those seeking for their souls will hem them in.
Yeah, so all Deuteronomy 28 right there.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting, isn't it? They're
I don't. God makes people eat weird things, but he's against people eating shellfish. I mean, I don't know. You eat your kids. You can eat your dung. I guess Paula White's son was saying something like there'd be people eating their own dung. The Lord saith. I don't know whether it is in scripture, by the way, but yeah, he makes you eat all these weird things. But seafood, no, you can't eat that.
right. So although cannibalism under the duress of starvation and sieges is often invoked in the Bible, and evidentially actually occurred sometimes,
Yes.
in this instance, it is a measure for measure justice. The paganizers murdered their own children in a macabre ritual. Now they will be driven by extremity to eat their children.
Yeah,
Don't they realize that societies that eat their children don't fare well? They don't
Yeah,
survive.
You would think. But, I mean, so Alter considers this justice.
well, no, I'm sure he's talking about
Right.
the ancient authors considering it justice.
No, it's Alter's
Right.
perspective.
So, they thought it was justice to force parents to eat their children.
Yeah, because look how evil the parents were, I guess.
Judeo-Christian morality.
Cannibalism was a historical reality in times of famine. Beyond this fact, quote, eating the flesh of one's children was a traditional curse form. As a potential threat, the theme is found beyond the present passage. Then, of course, he references Leviticus and Deuteronomy. And yeah, saying here that Deuteronomy 28 is particularly close.
That was a list of curses, that whole section, so it fits
was.
perfectly what they're saying there.
Yeah, so Deuteronomy 28, 45 through 57 is evidently a late expansion. The best solution then is that Deuteronomy 28:53 is dependent on the present passage.
All right, let's continue.
And you must break the flasks before their eyes of the men who are going with you, and you must say to them, This is what Jehovah of armies has said. In the same way, I shall break this people and this city as someone breaks the vessel of the potter, so that it is no more no more able to be repaired. And in the Topheth, they will bury until there is no more place to bury.
So the Topheth is a reference to Gehenna. And the parallel here, well, the fashioning of humankind in Genesis 2 was strongly analogized to the potter's artifact before. Now, the patent frangibility, thank you, Alter, of an earthenware flask becomes a vivid demonstration of the vulnerability of the people in their destruction.
Steve, did you already finish verse 13?
I'm on 11.
Okay, well, tell me when you get done with 13.
Okay. 12, not 12 I'm on now. That is how I shall do to this place. It is the utterance of Jehovah and to the inhabitants of it, even to make this city like Topheth. Is now at 13. And the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the kings of Judah must become like the place of Topheth, unclean ones, that is, all the houses upon the roofs, of which they made sacrificial smoke to all the army of the heaven. And there was a pouring out of drink offerings to other gods.
So Alter just comments on this, that the roofs were flat, making them readily appropriate settings for worship of astral deities.
All right.
So verse 13b and a passage dependent on it, 32:29, mentions sacrifice to pagan gods on the roofs of houses. 2 Kings 23:12 and Zephaniah 1:5 reflect the same practice. In the later passage, likewise to the host of heaven. In the Gilgamesh epic, Ninsun evidently ascends the roof to offer incense to Shamash, the sun god. And the same practice seems to be referred to in the Keret epic at Ugarit. So that's, and of course, host of heaven pouring libations for the other gods, classic worship stuff.
So we could infer that this is a theme in the mythology of the surrounding nations, and that they're interpreting, the interpretation of this is that it's a polemic, obviously, against worshiping other gods.
Were they more henotheistic? Did they believed multiple gods existed, but they had worship of one?
Well, the thing is, it depends on not only the time period, but also the author too, because it depends on what maybe what class the author was. Were they a priest? Were they were they a prophet?
Were they a Levite? Did they have an agenda?
Here's Jeremiah, a prophet. What did he think? Did he accept other gods existed?
I don't think Jeremiah would have. No.
Although he talks about other gods, he doesn't think they're actually something that exists. He thinks that there's one God that exists, and that these all false gods are just man-made kind of things.
Yeah, I would say so. So it is curious that verses 1 through 13 are instructions for performing a symbolic action and to speak out symbolic words, but that there is no narrative of the carrying out of the instructions. Yeah, so that is interesting. They're getting told to do something, but we don't hear about them doing the thing.
Usually we have God says this, and then some guy says, God said to me, and then they do the thing.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
usually like three rephrasings of the tasks. If they like to do that, it's a group of three,
Yeah.
But
One can only
here-
speculate. Hold on. One can only speculate whether the text ever carried a brief notice like, quote, and Jeremiah did as Yahweh had said, which subsequently dropped out. That is speculation. So
I want to bring up a couple things. One is that obviously here he's talking about the exile that's about to happen.
Yeah.
So they're framing it as God delivering him the message of the exile and an explanation of why the exile is going to occur.
Yeah.
But also, shit, I had another point.
Damn.
Dungate.
The dung gate.
You said shit, so I pointed at the Dungate in here.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sure, we can continue
carry
then.
on. Yeah.
Hi. And Jeremiah proceeded to come to Topheth, to which Jehovah had sent him to prophecy, and to stand in the courtyard of the house of Jehovah and say to all the people, this is what Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel, has said. Here I am, bringing upon the city and upon all its cities all the calamity that I have spoken against it, because they have hardened their neck in order not to obey my words.
Yeah, so the temple court would have been an ideal place to address a large crowd. Moreover, by moving from the valley of Ben Hinnom to the temple precincts, Jeremiah makes clear that the prophesied destruction is not just for the Moloch worshippers, but for all of Jerusalem, the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the kings of Judah, like the place of Topheth. But what I was going to say before is that the theology that's set up in Exodus is interesting when it comes to the power that other gods have, because the Egyptian magicians are able to recreate some of the things that Moses can do. And in Jubilees, they take it a step further by saying that they can recreate certain plagues that Moses
the
created.
phrasing I recall was that they were capable of enacting the same evils of the magic, but not capable of reversing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Jubilees was
An interesting trip.
yeah, definitely.
So it may be the case that, at least at the time of the writing of Jubilees, that they believed that other gods existed in some form, more henotheistic than monotheistic.
Yeah, so Jubilees would have been a weird case there, because it is fairly late Jubilees, at least in reference to other Old Testament literature. But it's it is interesting how
You also have to keep in mind that when it comes to the later texts, they're seeing the successes of military campaigns from other nations, like, Alexander the Great gets referenced a few times in Maccabees. And presumably because before they attribute their ability to survive and their success in battle to God, to Yahweh, presumably that would cause some people to assume that there was some power that the gods of these other nations had to some extent.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you would lose, well, the thing is, that kind of theology would have been, that was kind of standard practice. If you won a battle, your God is better than their God, basically. But the interpretation in much of the Old Testament had become, okay, if we lose this battle, it's because our God wanted us to lose this battle. God had sent the enemy to destroy us. So it's not that their God is better.
And you could see
it's that
both
our God is just
Yeah. You could see both of these views a lot. It goes back and forth quite a bit, and I've even seen some hypocritical stuff from the same author, if not, the same group of authors.
Well, that's the end of chapter 19, right?
I think it is.
Steve?
I think it should be.
Yeah, that's the end of 19.
All right. Fantastic.
Well, then, without further ado,
Let's hop into the last chapter for the day.
like, share, comment, subscribe, all your Discord servers, all your telegrams.
Yeah, Telegram. That's a thing that people use.
Surely.
Yeah, those carrier pigeons are back. They're in vogue, and you got to get them and use them.
Yeah. So, chapter 20. Now Pashur, the son of Immer the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things.
So Pashur is a name borne by several men mentioned in this period and thereafter. Indeed, 21:1 mentions another Pashur, the son of Melchiah. The name is also found on a Hebrew seal of the last half of the 7th century, and on an ostracon found, and that's also a piece of pottery, on an ostracon found in the Arad sanctuary. Thus, perhaps the name of a priest. Yeah, so it's perhaps the name of a priest.
Then Pashur smote Jeremiah the prophet and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord.
Damn.
Yeah, being bound up
Yeah.
is a common punishment in the biblical literature. It's what happens to the
Absolutely.
angels in
Yeah.
Enoch.
Yeah, those angels.
They get thrown in a pit, though.
Yep. Okay, so
They get tossed to the ends of the universe.
yeah, they get thrown into eternal darkness for the GameCube. Good game. And it came to pass on the morrow that Pashur brought forth Jeremiah out of the stocks. Then said Jeremiah unto him, The Lord hath not called thy name Pashur, but Magor Misabib.
This phrase is normally translated terror on every side, but the possibility of multiple meanings is such that it is preferable to leave it untranslated. The new name must be assumed to have some relation to the old name, but the relation is here not self-evident, and a great range of suggestions has been made.
Yes.
Yeah.
For thus saith the Lord, Behold.
Behold!
Hi, Steve.
Steve, we need you to behold.
Gotta
Oh,
say
excellent.
behold.
I will make thee a terror to thyself and to all thy friends, and they shall fall by the sword of their enemies, and thine eyes shall behold
Behold!
it, and I will give all Judah into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall carry them captive into Babylon, and I will deliver all the strength, captive into Babylon, and he shall slay them with the sword. Moreover, I will deliver all the strength of this city, and all the laborers thereof, and all the precious things thereof, and all the treasures of the kings of Judah, which I will give into the hand of their enemies, which shall spoil them, and take them, and carry them to Babylon. And thou, Pashur, and all that dwell in thine house, shall go into captivity, and thou shalt come to Babylon, and there thou shalt die, and shall be buried there, thou and all thy friends, to whom thou hast prophesied lies.
So, a little bit to talk about here. This is, of course, where Holliday breaks off the section.
And certainly it was dishonorable not to be buried in the place of your fathers.
Absolutely. So Jeremiah is commanded to combine word and act in public proclamation of the inevitable doom of the nation. His vantage point will have the city behind him and the valley of Ben Hinnom ahead. He is to give a new symbolic name to the valley appropriate to its function and to identify the grisly activity of child sacrifice in the valley with the fate of the city to his rear. He is deliberately to address the long line of kings of Judah, thus combining the actions of the past with those of the present. The past, one must understand, is relevant to Yahweh's judgment on the present, just as the activity in the valley is relevant to Yahweh's judgment on the city. There is no way now to avoid the consequences of atrocities for which the hearers would rather avoid responsibility. The city and its people are to be broken irreparably. Jeremiah is punished by the chief of the temple police, but the prophet has the last word. If the valley is to get a new name, so is the arresting priest. A name suggesting not fertility, but a curse. And Jeremiah names the enemy through which the curse will come. It is Babylon.
Yes. O Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily. Everyone mocketh me. For since I spake, I cried out, I cried violence and spoil, because the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me, and a derision daily. Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. But his word was in mine heart, as a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Report, say they, and we will report it. All my familiars watched for my halting, saying, Peradventure he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him. But the Lord is with me as a mighty, terrible one. Therefore my persecutors shall stumble, and they shall not prevail. They shall be greatly ashamed, for they shall not prosper. Their everlasting confusion shall never be forgotten. But, O Lord of hosts, that triest the righteous, and seest the reins of the heart, let me see thy vengeance on them. For unto thee have I opened my cause. Sing unto the Lord, praise ye the Lord, for he hath delivered the soul of the poor from the hand of evildoers. Cursed be the day wherein I was born. Let not the day wherein my mother bare me be blessed. Cursed be the man who brought tidings to my father, saying, a man-child is born unto thee, making him very glad. And let that man be as the cities which the Lord overthrew and repented not. And let him hear the cry in the morning and the shouting at noontide, because he slew me not from the womb. Or that my mother might have been my grave, and her womb to be always great with me. Wherefore I came forth out of the womb to see labor and sorrow, that my days should be consumed with shame.
You know, that's that last section there.
Is very Job-like.
Yes. It pretty almost exactly Job-like. You know, like cursed the day I was born. Like,
Yeah.
should have died in the womb. all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very Job-like. So, there's quite a bit of commentary here. So there are no clues within verses 7 through 12 that could specify a time when this lament was uttered. One must proceed indirectly. For verse 13, however, I propose a specific setting. The diction of verse 13b, quote, for he has saved the life of the poor from the hand of evildoers, is close to that of 1521. I will save you from the hand of the wicked and ransom you from the grasp of the violent. The setting for 1520 through 21 in the present study is the summer of 594. Verse 13 then is likely to be from the same period. I may go further, however, and propose that it was uttered at the time of the death of Hananiah in September or October 594. Indeed, that Jeremiah's vindication as a true prophet by Hananiah's death was the occasion for the publication of the confession. As to verses 7 through 12, one is uncertain whether they are to be assigned to the first crisis that Jeremiah underwent because of the opposition to the optimistic prophets, so the end of 601 or 600, or the second one, the summer of 594. In favor of the former option is the repetition of terror on every side. In favor of the latter option, however, are the following considerations. So there's quite a lot of points here. Jeremiah's outlook on Yahweh is far darker than that in 1516. I would agree, yeah. Jeremiah uses the striking word terrifying of Yahweh in verse 11 and of his opponents in 1521. There is close similarity. Yeah, there's a close similarity between verse 11 and 17:18. The two verses contain the only instances in the confessions of the expression "my persecutors." None of the considerations is utterly persuasive, but it is likely that the summer of 594 is the setting for the whole passage, crowned by verse 13 at the end of the summer.
So, what did we learn today about Judeo-Christian morality?
Well, let's see. God, when he is very mad, does not afraid to show. He's not afraid to show it.
Does not afraid to show.
Yeah. Does not afraid of anything.
I want to know why this version doesn't use the word behold once.
Because that version,
It's lame.
yeah, it's lame. See,
Yeah.
They ditched it for a reason, Steve. Just give it a toss. Yeah, good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
so
God will make
Steve,
you
it's the
eat
power
your
of the
kids.
Bible. Let's all cancel him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but no, God will make you eat your kids.
Hit my wall and bounce back. God's telling me something.
Wow.
That'd been awesome. Would have hit me back in the head or something.
that would have been actually really funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of cool. It's like an English, right?
Yeah. But no, I never hear Christians preaching about this section.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't, but if they want to talk about God's power, this would be a section that you could show.
Yeah, you know how there's always those ranting Christian extremists at any any campus or like at certain
I don't-
intersections.
Talking about brother Jed.
Yeah, like Jed.
Yeah,
Jed,
that guy.
absolutely. You could
But
be
those are the
the
discussions I want to facilitate. I want to have a Christian who's willing to talk about like that particular topic with
Right.
somebody, like you guys. Hey, Lawrence, come on and talk to him. And
be
I
fun.
want to see the back and forth. I want to see how they have a some kind of a I guess for lack of a better word, apologetic for it. I mean,
Yep.
that's basically what it would be, right? So how do we arrange something like this? Where do I find
Oh, it's
somebody
hard.
that could-
We've tried,
I don't know.
man.
You
We've
can-
definitely tried.
Ask G-Man.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
G-Man.
I would talk to
you know what?
G-Man.
I'm actually going to be talking to G-Man on the 16th. Long story, but yeah, you know what? Maybe if I don't know, if Lawrence wanted to talk to G-Man
I mean,
about it, but I mean, G-Man's
Yeah,
a
I
biblical
can
scholar.
I can talk to G-Man. I don't really hate G-Man or anything.
No,
so.
G-Man's great.
He's a funny guy.
He's a good rapper.
I'll see what I don't know. We'll see. Like I said,
Maybe we could get him to do the Lawrence diss track.
or something, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious of how they interpret these types of things like Jeremiah, Job, Deuteronomy 28, and a lot of these types of things about the type of deity that just seem to be really malicious, man.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing about Job, especially, is that it's not supposed to like answer the problem of evil. It's not supposed to give you that answer. It just acknowledges
Yeah, no,
that.
I don't think we should use Job as an evidential problem of evil thing. I mean, but it is kind of odd that you have God and Satan going, "Hey, look, I'm going to test this guy to show that you're wrong, Satan," kind of thing.
And also, just to on the whole Satan thing, Satan isn't like a character like we have it now,
Yeah,
and
but
like
he was the prosecutor kind of thing.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
the great Satan, right?
yeah, it's a title. Yeah,
Any
So he wasn't like
adversary.
he wasn't he wasn't as, I guess, maleficent. Was it
Malicious?
no, maleficent. I don't know. He wasn't as like
malicious.
this burning like devil type of thing that you see in more Dante's Inferno kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which actually was frozen in Dante's Inferno.
Mhm.
It was frozen at the base level, but
Yes, because they had layers of hell and hot and cold.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Someday
I had
maybe
Lucifer- I
we'll
had
go
Lucifer on
through
my
it.
show a couple weeks ago.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I had Lucifer on my show 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, he had Mark Pellegrino on, the guy who plays Lucifer in Supernatural.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Really, still jealous about that
Damn.
because
Yeah,
I
again.
I have a
Because
Mark
you
of Cain
wanna
tattoo.
Play Lucifer.
I
in
would love to play
Supernatural.
Lucifer, although they just the show's over now. But
Oh, Supernatural 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Great. We just got demonetized because you said Boogaloo.
Oh,
it's over.
right. Of
And you
course.
can't say boogaloo? Is that the banned word or something?
Yeah, it's a bad word now.
Well, this is getting very difficult. Either way, reference to that one 80s movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for watching. If you like the show, make sure to drop a like because it actually really does help us out. The more viewer engagement means more showing up in suggested feeds.
Yeah, and if you really want to support us, you can check out our Amazon wish list to add books to this table so that we can provide even more in-depth commentary. You can also check us out on Teespring for wacky and fun t-shirts. And if you want to get a chance at winning a t-shirt, you can check us out on Patreon. We do a monthly t-shirt giveaway. We also could have you on the show.
Yeah, you can get lots of cool
You
stuff.
can be in the after
If
show.
I go to Milwaukee, I'm going to be on.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
hell
you'll
yeah.
be.
Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, we'll
what
ta-
have to go to Milwaukee for? The only reason I see myself going to Milwaukee is to like taste test all the beer I can.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of that.
Yeah.
That's beer tasting. I'm
I'll
down
take
for
you
that.
down to Brady Street.
Oh yeah,
do it,
Brady
man.
Street Waters also.
Yeah.
Are the bars open there? Because I'm in Riverside County, and
Oh, the
it's-
bars
it's
are
tough
open here.
Yeah, definitely
Really?
open.
They didn't
Yep.
care.
Man, we got
Everything's
everything closed
open.
here still. I don't
We
know.
we like alcohol.
Apparently, it takes
Alcohol is more
priority.
important.
Yeah. But anyways, Steve, why don't you plug your stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, plug anything, man.
Well, let's see. Tomorrow I've got Agree to Argue with Dr. Fuzz Rana on the Agree to Argue channel. We're going to be talking about hell and different concepts of hell and how an all-merciful being can kind of send people to this kind of eternal torment, and try to compare and contrast from a non-believer's perspective, which is mine, with Dr. Fuzz Rana. And I think somebody else is joining us too, but I don't remember who it was. One of the, I don't know if they're a scholar that works for Reasons to Believe, but somebody who's jointly related to them, because they have a full-time staff of scholars. And so I'll be doing that tomorrow. Then I think later on today, I don't know what time yet, maybe around 3, I'm going to be talking about a response that Dr. Braxton Hunter had with one of my videos that I critiqued him. He did a fair critique about me, and I think that it's only fair that I return the favor and do a fair critique about his fair critique. I kind of like those things. So I'll probably be doing that later. Lawrence, if you want to join, maybe that's fine too.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You guys can actually join. All of you guys could join for that matter. But it will be dealing with basically, he asked a question of, are there any good arguments for God? And a lot of atheists out there just kind of like poo-pooed it away and say, no. But I mean, there were some good responses. And I think that my response to him, he gave some fair review about, but I think I have some back what, no, I guess, not backlash, just retorts for him on his criticism of mine for, does God explain things, right? Does God have an explanatory power to solve the mysteries of the universe, right? Does it count for the universe as far as some kind of satisfying of the principle of sufficient reason? And I don't think so, personally. But
Fair enough.
Yeah. No, I concur. I don't think God explains anything.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy cop-out.
I'd say it's like a placeholder, yeah.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah, but like, they used to explain, like, literally Yahweh was a storm god. Now we know how storms work, okay?
Yeah.
We don't need a god for that. We never did.
Yeah.
So
It's just, added something to, it definitely, I guess it must have helped people at the time, right?
It's a coping mechanism too. You could have something to blame, like, oh, mom got killed by the storm god. Somebody was god was angry. She pissed him off or something.
I suppose, yeah.
You could justify your problems.
well, there's also, like, as we got
why did this happen?
but
How could
as
this
we
happen?
got
Yeah.
better explanations for why things work, like,
Should've
the
thought-
purpose of God or gods
Yeah.
has changed over time. So, like,
It's
now,
still changing. It's still evolving, I feel.
right? So,
Yeah.
like, right now, when people talk about God, they phrase it in, like, pretty much exclusively, I'd say, like, ways that are hard to explain unless you, like, know your science, right? So, like, they talk about the origins of the universe. And certainly that was a point that people made about gods before, but, like, using them as an explanatory force for, like, windstorms and floods and stuff, like,
Or just even
in the Bible,
diseases,
right?
or the animals that attacked people, or the seasons that were dry and drought. Or all of it is hard to explain without any experimentation or long-term documentation.
Yeah.
And it may be wishful thinking, but I don't think many believers today would say they legitimately believe that it rains because God opened windows in heaven.
Yeah, shit, my
Right,
grandma
right.
believed.
flat earthers might, but
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
flat earthers.
Flurf.
One of flat earthers are nuts. Man, I love watching debates with them because it's just so funny.
Yeah.
When it comes to giving explanations to all sorts of things, while I get how that could be useful in the past, now it's not really it's not really necessary. And the thing is, people and the thing is, what I've noticed a lot of, I've noticed that a lot of people have been, when they say God, they aren't it's kind of, more of like a new agey kind of definition of God.
Yeah, it's a lot more metaphysical. It's about like a source of objective ethics.
Yeah.
It's less tangible. It's less defined too. I've noticed.
Yeah,
a lot of it. The presuppers went to that route too. It's all about some kind of transcendental thing, that God exists as somehow the mind of the laws of logic and all these types of arguments for that. That's where it comes from now. It's like God is just some being, a mind that created everything because reasons. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't solve anything saying that God exists as an explanatory thing for anything. I don't know how that explains, but I'm going to get into that more detail on my stream later.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, everybody, go check out Steve's stream later.
Yeah.
And I think that's about all that we have
all
to
the
say.
stuff we noted, all the links in the description.
Yeah.
To Twitter and Facebook. Free to follow us on there.
Yeah, Nightbot wasn't here, so check those out.
Yeah. Links are down there.
Thank you guys. This was fun as always.
Yeah, definitely fun.
Excellent to have you.
Yes.
So without further ado, we
will see you on Friday.
and then
Also Sunday.
And Saturday
We'll-
next month.
We'll be
next
around
month, Saturday.
Check out the Quran.
Yeah.
See you then.
Yep.